The Jared Dillian Show.
I'm Jared Dillian. This is The Jared Dillian Show. We're going to be talking about how you can lower your mortgage payments. And actually, this is not a scam. This is 100% not a scam. If you want to call in to talk about how you can lower your mortgage payments, please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is The Jared Dillian Show, and I assure you that we are giving you legal, non-scammy ways that you can lower your mortgage payment. Not kidding. So I don't want to get too technical. That's always my goal on this show, is to not get too technical. But the banks occasionally offer a feature with your mortgage, and it's called recasting. And when I heard about this feature, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the best thing ever. Let me say it again. Recasting. You get to reduce your monthly payment. You know what's funny is that this is pretty common. Like, this is a common mortgage. And a lot of I know some of the big banks are offering it pretty much for free. That doesn't cost any more points or anything like that. And it's not getting a lot of attention. I really haven't seen any articles written about recasting. Now, when I bought my house in 2015, they offered this mortgage to me with the recasting feature, and I said, oh, I'm using it for sure. And I did use it. I used it twice. So let's talk about how it works, how you reduce your monthly payment on your mortgage. With an ordinary mortgage, a 30-year fixed, you can prepay the mortgage. You can send in additional principal. So people don't really think about what happens when they do that. But let's put some brain power into this. With a traditional 30-year fixed, if you send in additional principal, what that does is it shortens the duration of the mortgage. So instead of you having a 30-year mortgage, you have a 29-year mortgage or a 28-year mortgage. And the more additional principal you send in, the more you can actually reduce the duration of your mortgage until you finally pay it off. And then it's paid off. So that's an ordinary mortgage. Now, with a mortgage that you can recast, the way it works is you put in additional principal. The duration of the mortgage stays the same, so it remains a 30-year fixed mortgage, but the payment goes down. Let me say that again. If you recast the mortgage, you keep the duration the same, but the payment goes down. And like I said, the duration stays the same. So there's no free lunch. Now, kicking off the segment, I sort of implied that there was a free lunch. You get to lower your mortgage payment. You have to pay for that somehow, and how you pay for it is you have the duration of the mortgage stays the same. But most people don't care. I didn't care. All I cared about was that I didn't have this big monthly nut going out the door every month, and I just wanted better cash flow, which I think is what most people care about. And I think from the bank standpoint, recasting as a feature doesn't really cost them anything because they get to keep the duration of the mortgage. They keep getting paid. So let me explain how I did it. I got a mortgage. This was in 2015. It was a $750,000 mortgage. And the initial payment was $3,400. It was I'm forgetting now. I think 3.75%, something like that. I forgot. Wow. I can't believe I forgot. 4.25%. The initial payment was $3,400. Now, when you recast, you can't just arbitrarily recast. You have to send in additional principal of $20,000 or more. So I recasted with more than that, with a whole bunch of money. And I reduced the payment from $3,400 to about $2,600. And then a couple years later, about 18 months later, I recast it again, I think with $20,000 this time, and I reduced the payment to $2,300 a month. Think about that. $2,300 a month on a mortgage that was $750,000. So, and like I said, you have to put up $20,000 in order to recast. So, yeah. So you pay down the principal at the same time. Now, once I got it to $2,300 a month, I was like, okay, this is pretty small, and I don't need to keep recasting this. What I can do is I can just continue to pay the mortgage. And what I'll focus on now is shortening the duration of the mortgage. So once I recast it and I got the payment smaller, I focused on getting the duration shorter until I eventually just paid it off. Now, here's what happens when you recast and you have a smaller payment. The interest is smaller. The interest payment is smaller. So you're paying less interest, which is good. That's number one. But what you can do is, let's say you have a $3,400 mortgage that you recast to a $2,600 mortgage. You're going to have $800 in extra cash flow. Now, instead of doing whatever you would do with $800, what you can do is send that in as additional principal. And instead of paying interest with that money, with the full payment, you pay principal with that money with the recasted payment. And that is the magic of it. Now you recast the payment, you get the payment smaller, and you start paying off this mortgage really, really fast. I actually had lunch with a guy today who's doing just this. Like, he's got a 15-year fixed, and he's recasting it, or I think he already has. I think he already has recasting it, and he plans on paying off the mortgage in 5 years, which is the Jared Dillian Show goal. Remember, I said the goal is to pay it off in 10 years, but you can pay it off in 5. And that's what you should do. And recasting really, really helps. And I don't know if the bank wins on this, but you certainly win. You definitely win. You definitely win. So it's pretty cool. And I don't know why the banks would offer that. I could probably talk to a mortgage expert and find out. So I have no idea how many people take advantage of this, because you do after all have to scrounge up $20,000, which, not everybody is really good at saving. So you do have to come up with $20,000 to recast, and it is worth doing once, maybe even twice. But beyond that, you should just do what I do and just pay down the mortgage after that. Just send in additional principal. Apart from recasting, I kind of feel like we should have another conversation about paying down your mortgage. And I said the goal is to pay it off in 10 years and maybe even 5 years. 5 to 10 years you should pay it off. I ran some numbers today. I was at my desk and I had the old spreadsheet out, the mortgage spreadsheet, which I use all the time. Do you have any idea? How much interest you will pay in a 30-year fixed mortgage? Do you have any idea? All right, let's just do an example. I love doing examples. I love doing math on the radio. A $400,000 mortgage. So let's say you buy a $500,000 house. You put down 20%. That's $100,000. So you have a $400,000 mortgage. You get a 30-year fixed at 3.5%. $400,000 mortgage. How much interest will you pay over the life of the mortgage? How much interest will you pay? $247,000 in interest. So this house that was $500,000 is now $747,000. A lot of people don't do that math. They have no idea how much interest they're paying over the life of the mortgage if you don't make any prepayments. Now, here's where it gets magical. Absolutely. This is where the magic happens. You ready? If you send in an extra $250 a month, and by the way, this is a mortgage payment that's about $2,000 a month at 3.5%. If you pay an extra $250 a month, you will pay off this mortgage in 24 years instead of 30 years, and you will only pay $193,000 in interest instead of $247,000 in interest, and that's $54,000 less in interest. What would you do with $54,000? You know what you can buy for $54,000? I was on the Toyota website the other day. I was looking through their cars. And Toyotas are known for their SUVs, the Highlanders, the 4Runners, the Land Cruisers, and they also are known for their sedans, the Corollas and the Camrys and stuff like that. They do have a sports car, and it's called the Toyota Supra. And I haven't seen a Supra on the road in a really long time, and I don't know if it's any good. A Toyota Supra costs about $54,000. So if you save $54,000, you could buy a Toyota Supra. I mean, if you're going to buy like a sports car, like, would you really buy it? I mean, who buys a Toyota Supra? That's insane. It's probably a great car. I don't mean to make fun of Toyotas, but just most people don't get the Toyota Supra. That's actually they're limited edition. They're signed by Akio Toyota on the dashboard. So maybe I'll get one. That $250 a month. Now, it's not hard to come up with $250 a month. If you were going out to eat once a week and you stopped, or if you were going out to eat twice a week and you went back to once a week, that's $250 a month. And that, my friends, saves you $54,000 in interest. That's a massive difference. So my advice to you is to prepay the crap out of that mortgage. Prepay it aggressively, and your goal should be to have it paid off in 10 years, maybe even 5. And recasting is a great tool. If you're shopping for a house, especially if you're getting a larger mortgage, not so much a smaller mortgage, but if you're getting a larger mortgage, I would go to the bank and I would say, can you get me a loan with a recasting feature? And if it's one of the big banks like Bank of America or Wells Fargo or something like that, they probably can get you a loan with a recasting feature. And I don't think it's going to cost you any more. If it does cost you more, please call 844-305-7800 and tell me about it. I want to be the first to know. We talked to a caller yesterday who might be 3 years away from paying off her mortgage. And you know what? You should totally do it. It is worth it. I'm Jared Dillian. This is The Jared Dillian Show.
The Jared Dillian Show.